board certified general surgeon. I've been practicing for about 10 years, general surgery and breast surgery. And I stumbled upon this fellowship when I bought a Renuvion machine, and I was sent for training in Chattanooga with Dr. Kluska and Dr. Deal. And just by chance, they said, "Hey, we have a fellow spot open." And I was like, "There's no way I can do that. I can't leave my practice." And they said, "We can do it part-time." So I'm doing 1 week on, 1 week off. So 1 week, I'm in Massachusetts in Cape Cod running my practice. And I also own a med spa. And then my other week, I'm in Chattanooga doing my cosmetic surgery fellowship. So if anyone has any questions about how to, run your life and do fellowship at the same time, I'd be happy to share my feedback.
You sound pretty busy there.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right. Andrew Dolling, did I see?
Yeah, Dolnick, Andrew Dolnick.
Dolnick.
I'm a current fellow with Dr. Perinack in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's a program that's affiliated with LSU. I am originally trained as an oral maxillofacial surgeon. I practiced in that for about 6 years or so, and was in a residency, training residents, and they needed somebody to staff them on some cosmetics cases. So I started staffing them, and really decided I liked it a lot, and just kind of fell into it and decided I really wanted to do it and become an expert on it. So that's why I'm here. I did my residency at Walter Reed in 2016. And yeah, I'm still in the Army despite my beard, but
Excellent.
fun stuff.
Excellent, very good. Dr. Gupta, Anish Gupta.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anish Gupta. I'm currently the fellow with Dr. Marvel in Nashville. My background is primarily in OBGYN, and I became interested in this field when I did some GYN cosmetics procedures in residency. And like Dr. Dalton, I kind of just stumbled across this fellowship. So just chance that I ended up here and ended up applying, and I'm really glad I did. It's been a fantastic few months. And after my fellowship, I've already signed a contract to join a practice in Philadelphia, where I'll do some facial, all body procedures, and then a lot of GYN cosmetics as well.
A lot of you say you stumbled upon the fellowship. I'd like to hear, how did you exactly stumble upon the fellowship? How did you hear about the program? So instead of saying stumble, tell me how did you hear about it? Did you hear it online? Did somebody tell you about it? How did you guys find out? It's interesting for us because we as fellowship directors, and there's a few other fellowship directors on, feel that this is the best secret kept here from residents and fellows looking to specialize in this field. So I'd like to hear, how did you specifically hear about the fellowship?
I can go. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I had a couple of my colleagues that I was working with and had worked with in the past and had contacts with that said, "Oh, if you're really wanting to become an expert at it, this is where you go." And so they kind of told me.
Excellent. And what about you, Dr. Gupta?
I was actually doing a totally unrelated GYN fellowship in California, and I always had an interest in cosmetics, but I never really knew how you could go from OB to cosmetics. And I just ended up Googling like GYN cosmetics, or how does someone go from, not a plastic surgery background into cosmetics. And this is what came up on Google. And this is the top hit. And just coincidentally, when I found this, it was about a week and a half before the application deadline. So Margaret was very helpful in getting all my papers and documents in order in a very short amount of time. Great. That's how I did stumble across it. I just Googled.
Excellent. So Google directed you. Great. Dr. Hayes, Nicholas Hayes.
Yeah, I'm Nicholas Hayes. I'm working with Dr. Alex Sobel out here in Bellevue, Washington. Really, it's the Seattle area if you're not familiar with Bellevue. I'm a board certified surgeon who had been practicing since about 2000 in Southern Idaho. I've been aware of the AACS fellowships really since I think probably 2009 or 2010 when I was in residency. But I had this, nagging, few $100,000s worth of student loan debt that I wanted to pay off before I was going to go do something else. And I'm sure my wife wanted to have an income. So I took care of my financial issues. And then every year I would see that the AACS would say, oh, here's a fellowship that's available. 2 years in a row in the summertime. I think you guys post them sometime in June that there may be some empty slots in AACS. And then 2 summers ago, I saw that there were some empty positions. So I contacted Margaret, and then she put me in touch with Dr. Sobel. And within a month, I interviewed and made a plan to go ahead and have a life change. And so I'm really excited to be here.
Excellent. What's been I'm sorry about the announcement. What's been the biggest surprise for you in your fellowship so far?
Well, I guess we work with a number of physicians. I'd say that I was surprised how much plastic surgery is involved in our training, which is, I think, a good, strong point to this program. I think we work with about 9 faculty total. So I wasn't expecting to be able to work with, I think there's 3 oculoplastic surgeons, a couple of ENT background, probably 4 plastic surgeons. I might be off on my numbers, but I was really surprised at the volume of cases that we're exposed to.
Great. Just shows you the multidisciplinary approach to this specialty, right?
Yeah.
Which is great. That's why we're here. I think that is the strength of the academy and the fellowships, that you get input from all these specialties, and it just gets you a better, well-rounded training overall. Let's go to Dr. Mosio. Can you tell us about your background and training, and where are you doing your fellowship?
Yeah, I'm Justina Mosho. I graduated from general surgery in South Miami back in June, so I'm a recent grad. And I am doing my fellowship in Miami as well with Dr. Michael Rodriguez. I actually met him my intern year, and I scrubbed with him back then. And then through the course of my training, I realized that cosmetic surgery is what I was interested in. So I ended up contacting him, and he would come sometimes to, do cases in the hospital. And I started scrubbing with him, went to his surgery center, and I ended up getting the spot, which I really love. I'm in body cosmetic surgery, but he is trained as an ENT, and then he also has facial cosmetic surgery that he did before he did his body cosmetics. So he does quite a bit of face stuff. So I'm actually getting quite a bit of training in that as well. And yeah, I think that's the gist of it. I graduated in June, so
Excellent.
hoping to stay in the area.
Excellent, very good. And do we have Dr. Monica Ray with us?
Yes. Hi.
Hi, Dr. Ray.
Hello. So I'm Monica Ray. I am the current fellow in facial cosmetic surgery at TOC Eye and Face with Dr. Tanuj Nakra in Austin, Texas. I am set to graduate in June of this year. I'm actually doing a dual fellowship currently. I'm originally ophthalmology training and doing an ACERS fellowship as well, which is the plastic and reconstructive surgery within ophthalmology. So this is my second year of ACERS fellowship, and it's combined with a 1-year AACS fellowship.
Great. So you're doing a facial cosmetic surgery fellowship at the same time as your oculoplastic fellowship.
Yes.
Great. And then Dr. Nakra is great. Is Dr. Nakra on already?
I think he's finishing up some things and is going to be joining us shortly.
Okay.
Dr. Sessa is, though.
Okay, great. Hey, how are you, Dr. Sessa?
Good. How are you, Jake?
I'm very well. Dr. Sessa is one of our fellowship directors in Florida. And we have Dr. Konlinsky as well, who's a fellowship director in Florida. Very sought after fellowships, both of them. So I'll start with you, Dr. Sessa. Tell us about your fellowship and what are you looking for as a fellowship director?
So Thanks for doing that. Thanks for doing this, Margaret. This is really kind of interesting. So I've had the fellowship now. My fellowship is in Sarasota, Florida, and I've had it for I think I'm going on my fifth year. I think it's my fifth year now. It's a general cosmetic surgery fellowship, and my practice is mainly it's really very general. It's about half face and about half body. Pretty busy in Florida. Anyone who practices in Florida understands that. It's an interesting environment in where you in practicing in Florida. As far as what I'm looking for, I'm not really going to sugarcoat it. I'm not one to sugarcoat things. So if you want to be at a really busy fellowship, you need to have good surgical skills. You know, you're going to get a lot out of your fellowship if you have good surgical skills to start, because you'll be able to jump right in and be able to start operating immediately, versus if you have to be trained on proper suturing techniques and handling the tissues appropriately. So most everybody is, I think it's one of the prerequisites that you have to be board certified in some surgical specialty, but there's a lot of variability in that. And my particular fellowship is high volume and high pace, and I just expect my fellows to have a high degree of surgical expertise from day one. So, and I think that by the end of the year, they have an incredible breadth of knowledge in terms of doing face, all kinds of face, from top down, and all body. So,
Wait, what is the average number of cases your fellow graduates with?
So last year, my fellow graduated with a little over 1,400 procedures, about 75 or so facelifts.
That's good. You don't have to remember the details.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so about half of those cases were facelifts and eyelids and different facial procedures, and then the other half was lipo, abdominoplasty, breast lifts, breast reductions, some breast reconstruction, really just about, you know, everything that you want to be exposed to in cosmetic surgery, general cosmetic surgery. Yeah.
Excellent. Dr. Konlinsky is here, so I'm going to introduce her because she is part and parcel on, you know, the program. She's the director of our fellowship programs, and she has her own fellowship in Florida as well, and a practice in New York. So Victoria, I'm glad you're on. Is there anything you want to share about your program and our fellowships in general with the audience? Oh, you're mute.
Sorry about that, guys. Hi, welcome everybody. It's super exciting to see so many people sign on to this program. It's grown by leaps and bounds, and that's certainly a great thank you to you, Jacob, and to Margaret for making all these efforts. It's a great way for us to spread our name, our existence, and the fact that we offer this kind of training, which is really unparalleled to any other plastic surgery programs in the nation. I myself currently have two fellowships, one in New York and one in Florida. And I think one of the great things about my fellowship is that you get to experience two completely different worlds. My New York practice is extremely high-end, very low pace type of a practice that embodies everything, facial, body, lasers, injectables. And my Florida practice, like Dr. Sessa said, if you know anything about Florida, it's a kind of marathon of a practice where you just operate. It's sort of a hub for cosmetic surgery for the nation. And so we do a lot of cases. And me personally, I sort of fell into doing a lot more body in Florida. And my associate, Dr. Kim, who's also my co-fellowship director in New York, does both. And we also have somebody, Dr. Kotlas, actually, who's very well known in the academy, who does facial cases in my New York practice. So in my fellowship in particular, I ask my fellows to change places 2 months out of the year. So my New York fellow will come and stay with me in Miami for 2 months, and my Miami fellow will go to New York and stay there for 2 months. So you really get an idea of the two completely different worlds, kind of opens your eyes into what you may like more or less, and sort of go from there. But certainly from the perspective of experience or having hands-on training, there's no lag there. We do significant amount of cases, hundreds and hundreds of procedures. I don't even remember. I think it was 900 or 800 cases that we did last year. So I think it's,
Right.
I think 1,600 procedures or something like that. So it's, you certainly get the hands-on experience. And just like Dr. Sessa said, I think your experience is drastically improved from the get-go if you come in with a good set of surgical skills. I think that's crucial, because at this point in your career, we're not looking to teach you how to operate. We're looking to teach you how to do a particular procedure. At this point, we cannot spend the time on teaching you how to sew. That's, you know, you're all surgeons. People who come into the fellowship are already well-trained surgeons and are here just to really learn the art and the safety, a safe way of doing aesthetic surgery in particular. So welcome. Hope this is useful for you guys.
Great. I see that Dr. Nakro is on. So hi, how are you? As you all have gathered now, we have general cosmetic fellowships as well as facial cosmetic fellowships. And Dr. Nakro is one of the facial cosmetic surgery directors. And I'm gonna have you talk a little bit about your fellowship and yourself and what you look for in your fellows.
Sure. Thank you, Jacob. Thanks, Margaret and Jacob, for organizing another great session. I know this is a very helpful way to showcase our programs to people who are interested, and happy to talk about my facial cosmetic surgery program in Austin. So I'll just give you a little bit of background on who I am and what our fellowship program is, to kind of give you a little flavor on what this program is all about. So my background is that I am an oculoplastic surgeon. I did my ophthalmology residency and fellowship at UCLA. And I actually did a combined fellowship at UCLA, which was oculoplastics and an AACS fellowship. This is quite some time ago, about 15 years ago. And I did a second fellowship in cosmetic surgery in addition to that in Los Angeles before moving to Austin, where I've been in practice here with a group of similar surgeons. We're a total of 6 surgeons here in Austin. And we have a fellowship program. And our facial cosmetic surgery program is a 1-year program. All the facial programs are 1 year. And you know, our goal really is to train facial surgeons to be able to perform the full spectrum of facial cosmetic surgery. So that includes facelifts, rhinoplasties, blepharoplasties, brow lifts, facial implants, fat grafting, a lot of the cosmetic dermatologic procedures, including laser surfacing, chemical peels, and then of course, Botox and fillers, and lots of other things that are kind of in between these procedures. I would say a good part of my practice is really facial aging. So rejuvenation of the aging face is the big part of my practice. But there's an increasing demand from younger folks who are exposed to the concept of cosmetic surgery, who are looking for changing their face. You know, people are interested in lip lifts at a very young age. People are interested in changing their forehead and brow shape at a young age. So we're kind of seeing an increasing group of younger patients who are seeking out cosmetic surgery. Our fellowship program is pretty busy. We operate pretty much every day, and we have clinic every day. Dr. Monica Ray is our fellow right now, and we'll give her a chance to talk probably in just a moment here. And, you know, I think that our goal really is to, of course, cover the full spectrum of facial cosmetic surgery and train surgeons who can feel confident to go out and pursue a practice that is robust and covers the full spectrum of facial cosmetic surgery. But more than just that, because the field keeps changing, right? So I would say that in our practice, research is a pretty big deal. We have been fortunate enough to get grant support from the Cosmetic Surgery Foundation for many years in a row, and we've produced award-winning research that is also verging on basic science. We have animal studies that we've been doing on wound healing, and this is all in conjunction to, you know, our busy clinical practice. And so, you know, because we are research-oriented and focused on changing the status quo of how procedures are done, I would say another big part of our fellowship program is training in the concepts of the psychology, the philosophy, and artistry of being a cosmetic surgeon. So this is not a static field. Our field is constantly changing, and, you know, we're interested in training future leaders in our specialty who can think along the lines of, why is this procedure? What are the pros and cons of this procedure? How can we possibly make this procedure better? And, you know, we're expecting our fellows to go on to teaching positions. We're expecting them to go on to train other surgeons and contribute to the specialty over the long run, and ultimately, you know, really change our specialty. And you know, as we all proceed into the future, that's really one of the exciting things about cosmetic surgery, is that it's truly a mix of arts and science every single day. And, you know, being able to practice medicine with our patients where we can utilize this artistry and science on a daily basis, but then also learn from our own wins and losses and evolve as surgeons. This is some little glimpse of some of the philosophy that we try to inculcate in our fellowship program. So I'll take a moment just to speak about the AACS. I think maybe some of you are familiar with the AACS, many of you are probably not. And so I would say that, you know, when I was coming through my own training program and then in my early practice, I found the AACS to be one of the most open, truly multidisciplinary organizations in the country. And I've learned so much from my colleagues in the American Academy of Cosmetic Surgery. You know, when I have questions about unique situations that come up, I have a little panel of other facial cosmetic surgeons in the country that I'll be quick to text. And we have a text group that's pretty active, and they'll text me about certain things where I might have some expertise on, and it kind of goes around the circle. And the relationships that I have built over the years with my AACS colleagues are not only invaluable for my cosmetic practice in Austin, but it's really just been a great deal of fun to be able to know that we have a community of like-minded surgeons nationally who get together once in a while for meetings, get together on virtual meetings, and we all enjoy each other's company. We all learn together, we teach each other, and we push the specialty forward. And I just feel so privileged to have been a part of this organization for all these years. So I guess that's my little spiel here. And I think maybe, Monica, if you don't mind just kind of chiming in a little bit and kind of giving a lot of these prospective applicants a little glimpse of how your fellowship is going. How has it met your expectations? What are you hoping for the rest of the year? And then maybe just give people an idea of the kind of numbers of what kind of procedures we typically have in our fellowship.
Sure. I'm Monica. I introduced myself a little bit earlier, but as far as, you know, what we get out of it as fellows, at least in our program. It's an amazing experience. Lots of, I think someone touched on it earlier, multi-specialty, multidisciplinary, exposure to lots of different fields and surgeons and different approaches. Cosmetic surgery, I think, is different than other plastic surgery. And so having training specifically in it is very helpful. It's dealing with patients and expectations and kind of an entirely different set of goals that I think having specific training in is really beneficial when you have that kind of opportunity to be to have a safety net in your fellowship, basically. So it's been that part has been invaluable. I've done a lot of surgery over the last year and a half that I've been in fellowship here. I think I looked at my own numbers the other day for blepharoplasties alone. I think we're in the 400 or 500 range. And then continuing, I still have another 7-8 months left of fellowship. So I'm looking forward to really getting to, fine tune my skills and kind of continue to work with the group on, problem solving difficult cases and things like that. I'm actually planning to join TOC when I graduate in June. So be graduating, but not going far. So that's kind of been my experience.
Very good. Excellent. I'm going to say a couple of words about my fellowship. I am in California, Southern California, in Rancho Cucamonga, and run a general cosmetic surgery fellowship for 17 years now. And we accept 2 fellows a year. So we accept a fellow in July and in January. And we have 2 other faculty in-house, Dr. Tower and Dr. Ryan, who help teach our fellows. And we also are affiliated with Loma Linda University and UCLA Jules Stein and many other excellent plastic and cosmetic surgeons in Southern California that help teach our fellows. I think what I look for in a fellow that comes in, first of all, is someone who is, has a drive and really a great interest in our field. I think I speak for all the fellowship directors. We don't want people who are wanting to dabble into cosmetic surgery. We want people that are wholly dedicated to this field and really want to immerse themselves in the field of cosmetic surgery and look forward to practicing this art and science. And as Dr. Nakro said, we want them to become part of our society, part of our boards, and be active and advance the specialties. So we want people that are hardworking, have a drive, have a humility, and are enthusiastic about what we're doing every day. They want to read, they want to work, they want to do the cases with us, they want to see the patients. And it's really, the fellows are involved in my practice. They're involved, and I think in most of the programs, from the beginning to the end. They see the patients with us in consultation. They talk to them at the pre-op. They, of course, operate with us, and do part of the case. They see them post-op, and they really see the whole entire cycle until they're completely healed from the surgery. And if complications arise, they treat the complications with us. So they see the whole entire gamut. It's a little bit different than a residency where you are farmed out to like 6 different hospitals and you do 2 months here and 3 months there and 5 months, and there is no continuity. The beauty of doing these fellowships is that it's in a real setting. You're doing it in an accredited outpatient surgery center. That's where most of cosmetic surgery is performed. We do cases in the hospital as well. I do insurance cases in the hospital. But I would say 95% of the cases are done in a surgery center. Patients come in there and they see the whole entire process of how you basically do a proper consultation, which patients are good candidates for surgery and which patients are not. It's important to know not only who you want to operate on, but more importantly, who not to operate on. Who is a good candidate and who's a not very good candidate, who's going to be a good patient and have a successful outcome versus people that are going to be unsatisfied and unhappy no matter what you do. So all of those things I think are learned in this type of a setting, as opposed to a hospital residency where there is a little bit of lack of continuity of care and lack of that personal touch that you need in this field. Cosmetic surgery is very different than any other surgical subspecialty. And I think when we teach our fellows this specialty, we're not only teaching them the procedures, we're really teaching them how to really properly vet your patient, how to really properly treatment plan, what things to do and what things not to do, and how to take care of complications, and make it how to run a surgery center properly. I mean, those are very important things that you do not learn in a residency. And so that's what we do, and that's what we look for. I'm gonna move on and ask some questions from other current fellows. I'm interested to know what has been your experience so far, and what are your favorite procedures? So we'll start with Anthony. Tell me
Thanks,
what.
Dr. Hayafi.
Yes.
Thank you. So my experience so far, I think echoes pretty much what a lot of the fellowship directors have said. I'm with, for those of you who may have come in late, I'm with Dr. Kozalina in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He operates 4 days a week. We do 2 to 3 cases a day. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we operate with the plastic surgeon as well. There are 2 fellows this year, so whoever's not operating with Dr. Kozalina primarily goes with the plastic surgeon, Dr. Brian Whitlock. And we have 2 of Dr. Kozalina's previous fellows coming in and operating, Dr. Son and Dr. Ptolomeo. So it's good to see, a perspective from 4 different surgeons as a fellow here. My favorite facelift. My favorite procedure so far is facelift. I'm a little bit biased. My background's maxillofacial, so but yeah, that's it's been great so far, learning a lot. And both the business aspect, the surgery aspect. He has a pretty busy med spa, so the nurses kind of help us or teach us how to do fillers and Botox and Morpheus. We do some laser resurfacing as well, so it's pretty well rounded over here.
Excellent. Catherine, what has been your favorite procedure, and how is your experience so far?
Hi, sorry, just getting my kids situated. This is my off week when I'm home. My favorite procedure would probably be liposuction with fat transfer. I have an interest in doing fat transfer to the breast. Over considering doing implants. Just because of personal experience. So there's a colleague of mine who started doing a lot of fat transfer to breast, and working with him quite a bit. So I think that's my main interest, but a lot of body contouring.
Excellent. Thank you. Andrew, you're doing a facial cosmetic surgery fellowship. Tell me how has been your experience, and what's your favorite procedure?
My experience has been absolutely fantastic. It really reaffirmed for me exactly what I want to do, and that this is the right path for me, and really enjoying learning to become an expert in facial cosmetic surgery. My favorite procedure is rhinoplasty. Dr. Paranak is really, really good at them and has excellent results, and I've been learning a lot about it, and just it's a ton of fun, a lot of art to it, a lot of touch and finesse, and really makes a difference in your patients' lives too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the most challenging procedures that we do. Awesome. Dr. Anish Gupta, tell us about your experience so far, and what's your favorite procedure?
Sure. It's been a great few months. For everyone that knows Dr. Marvel, he's like one of the nicest people in the world. He's great to work with. He's a fantastic surgeon. the variety at the clinic is amazing. There's 3 surgeons that we work with, and then we now have added an oculoplastic surgeon that we rotate with him once every 1 to 2 weeks, and that's been a really great experience. And Dr. Marvel even added another facial surgeon to add even more facial procedures. So it's a really busy clinic. You get to see a lot of surgical perspectives. The volume is very high. And you get to see a variety of ways to perform different procedures, which is really good because that's what you want in fellowship. You want to have all the tools in your toolbox, and then you can pick which one is best for you when you go and practice by yourself. I think my favorite procedure is probably breast augmentation implants. It's a fairly short procedure on the spectrum of cosmetics that has a drastic impact on patients. And it's probably one of the highest satisfaction rates with procedures. I would say our patients, upwards of 90% are really thrilled with their results. And it's always good to see patients have such a positive impact and outcome from these procedures. So that's probably my favorite.
Excellent. Dr. Hayes, tell us about your experience and what's your favorite procedure?
Yeah, the experience here has been excellent so far. Basically, how Dr. Sobel sets it up initially is you spend the first couple of months really in his office, so you kind of get acclimated with the area, and then you start going out with the other faculty, and then you start to really see how much volume you're going to see over the course of your year here. His practice is very busy to begin with, and then you're going into other people's practices and surgery centers that are also very busy. So I'd say it's been a very good experience so far, and I feel like I'm learning a lot. I'd say that I feel like I probably read just as much as I did in general surgery residency, if not more. I would say that there is so much to know about cosmetic surgery. So it should not be underestimated, as it is just it sounds like it's cosmetic, it's all elective, that it's not important. Oh, there's so much detail, it's so much to know. I've read Art of Aesthetic Surgery, like some chapters, like multiple times, and you just think, oh, why, I wish I could memorize this and keep it in my head. There's just so much to know. So that's one of the surprises of the year. I would say, as far as favorite operation, I think large abdominoplasties or body lifts are probably my favorite because of such a drastic change that the patient, you just see it on the table in front of you, this large amount of redundant skin and excess fat, and then it's not there in a very nice shape. So that's my favorite.
Yeah, and very transformational for the patients, especially the post-massive weight loss patients, right? They come in with a huge health problem many times, and they lose all this weight. And, if you look at their quality of life surveys, after losing all this weight, they're still unsatisfied because they're unhappy looking at themselves in the mirror. I think the only time that their satisfaction rate really goes up is after that body contouring procedure that you just mentioned. So
you're right.
It's very interesting. Dr. Mosho, tell us about your experience and your favorite procedure.
So given my general surgery background, I actually also really love tummy tucks. I think it's just instant gratification, not just for the patient, but for us. Improves quality of life. And then also, doing a 360 with the back lifts, I really enjoy. I would say, I have to say that what surprised me a close second is doing BBLs, actually. That can also be a very drastic change. And there's, you kind of have to an eye for it. And I used to be scared of it, given the bad reputation, but I've actually come to really enjoy it. And I thought it was going to be, my favorite was going to be the breast, but that's actually been something that I've struggled with the most out of everything so far. But it's a great learning experience and getting better, but tummy tucks, I'd have to say number one.
Okay, great. We have a great variety here. Monica, you already told us about your fellowship experience. Tell us your favorite procedure. I'm going to guess blepharoplasty.
It's not. I do love them, but probably not my favorite. I'd say my favorite as far as results and patient satisfaction are the deep neck lifts that we do with facelifts. It's just such an amazing contouring procedure, and patients are so happy with the results, especially if they've been, struggling with kind of an anatomically difficult neck their whole lives. So that's my favorite as far as like patient satisfaction and outcomes. My favorite surgery to actually do would probably be an endoscopic brow lift. They're just really satisfying. It's a lot of great anatomy to see, and a really fun dissection.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. That was such a nice variety of procedures that you guys enjoy. I wanted, and I think Dr. Aiba introduced herself. I want to ask my current fellow, how do you think your fellowship prepared you for transition into practice, and how is practice going now? So you just finished short of a year ago.
Absolutely. I think that, as I mentioned before, it was such a busy experience with you and a good variety of cases, so that when I entered practice, I thought that I would be afraid of doing cases by myself, being the solo surgeon. But one of the most valuable experiences I had with you was that at the end of the fellowship, the fellows were able to practice solo. As fellows, they were able to take on their own patients, do their own cases, and have a familiar environment to be in. That was such a huge deal, especially with the staff that have watched you grow from a baby fellow to a grown-up fellow, and who are supportive in the room. That's a huge deal. So that when I stepped into my practice in New York, I was able to make that transition quite well, and even noticed, some newer other associates at my same practice who were fresh out of training, who did not feel as comfortable doing cases, and were oftentimes turning down cases, and they're fresh out of plastic surgery training. I know that this is because they need to acquire a certain number of cases in order to take their board. So that might be why you're selective. But I feel like whatever training that we had as cosmetic surgery fellows enabled me to pick up whatever case came my way. Because I had managed so many complications, I wasn't phased. I was able to confidently tell the patients, I know it looks crazy now, but you're going to be okay. Let's work with you and help you do what you need to do. And then in terms of practice management, I really feel that I have, a lifelong connection with Dr. Hayavi, where I can fly back to California anytime and ask questions. And he's really given a lot of guidance to help me be able to transition myself into my own practice, just because I've seen him do it on a day in, day out basis. And I feel like I've been trained to follow his guidance and do that for myself. So a very well-rounded experience. I think the transition was smoother than I was expecting into practice.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Dr. Tolomeo, tell us how has been your transition into practice, and what kind of advice do you want to give the current fellows or people that are, looking to do this fellowship for, the years coming in the future? What kind of tips will you give them?
Yeah. So honestly, I'm really happy with my decision to, join the AACS and kind of find a fellowship within them. I tell people all the time, because my background is all maxillofacial surgery, and I get questioned all the time, like, how do you feel comfortable doing body procedures? With my fellowship, we did a ton of face and body, and there's times when I'm in surgery and, I tell, because I also teach at the hospital, tell them that I feel more comfortable doing the body procedures because of all the instruction and the exposure that I had. Even further, seeing complications and how we have to manage them and to kind of coach the patient through them and kind of help them along. I honestly feel more comfortable doing those body procedures, above some of these facial procedures. Doing the fellowship, and I think it's important, is, at this point of our training, we've got this far because we're intelligent individuals and great hand skills. I think what the few as potential applicants utilize the fellowship, one, to kind of hone in and kind of fine tune those hand skills, also build and work with the fellowship directors in understanding the business aspect, because like Dr. Hayavi mentioned previously, we don't get that exposure or that teaching in residency or medical school or dental school. We don't get that education. So, I was able to sit down with Kuzalina and kind of talk over business aspects of how he started his practice, what he actively does to continue, increasing the patient population, how he's grown his med spa, So I think that's really big, aside from actually, the surgery and learning the different procedures. For the applicants, I think, you need to find which, area of cosmetics you kind of want to focus on and actually visit different types. I was in the process, I actually visited several different fellowship centers just to see, who, I enjoyed watching doing surgery and liking their technique. And you got to find and see like what works best for you. It is a year. And I said, like, I've felt closer to, my residency director and their staff than some of my like own residency colleagues and things like that, because of how much time you spend with them. So, find somewhere where you feel like you can mesh well with them and that you're going to get that most opportunity within that 1 year.
Excellent. Thank you. Would this be a good time to talk about application process, Margaret? Maybe we can mention the match and the deadlines for the applications and all of that, and then I can go over some questions because I know we're running out of time soon.
So what I would like to do with the application information is I will send a follow-up email tomorrow with details, and it'll be in writing on what the application deadline is, and then you can, if I didn't answer a question about the application process, then you can just reply to me and we'll get you all set up. The one thing that I can say is don't wait to get your letters of recommendation. That always is probably the hardest piece of getting your application done. So February 15th is the match launch date. So it is not too early to start working on those letters of recommendation. And I'll kind of walk through how to take care of those in my email tomorrow.
Excellent. Thank you. The current fellows, I mean, any one of you can just jump in. Any advice for people considering these fellowships in terms of how to apply, how to pick a program, and what kind of words of wisdom will you give them now that you have been accepted and are doing it? And anybody who wants to contribute, you can go ahead from the current fellow.
I'll say one of the best things that I did was talk to previous fellows. I applied broadly, and when I went to interview at different places, one of the things that gave me the most insight was talking to the current fellow at the time and asking them how many procedures they did, how much autonomy they had, what the teaching was like, how the fellowship director was, as a person. You're going to be working closely with someone for a year. You want to make sure you get along with them, what the numbers were like, what specific procedures they do. So, I think the current or former fellows are a really good source of knowledge to figure out exactly what a fellowship is like, because every fellowship ultimately is a little bit different.
Right. Very true. Anybody else?
I'd say don't be afraid to go visit the different programs, ones that you may be interested in. I went to visit my first fellowship program, I think when I was a third-year resident, so not even halfway through my training. And the reason is because there's just so many out there across the country, and they all have their own strengths and weaknesses. So you want to see which one you'd like the best, and you want, like Dr. This has been echoed, but you want to be able to mesh well with the fellowship director and with the staff as well, because ultimately you'll be essentially living and working with them for a year with them and their staff. So start early for sure, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Agree 100%. You have to pursue your dream. So if you're interested, I think that's excellent advice. Call the fellowship director, go and visit them, talk to them, keep in touch with them, because that stays with us, right? We can tell who's really interested and who's just trying last minute to get a little spot so they can pass another year. I don't know why people would be doing that, but those are great advices. I'm gonna go unless anybody has something.
So there is a question in the chat box. Can the former fellows comment on the job market post fellowship?
Yes.
Yeah, I can comment on that. So the market's actually pretty good. You just got to honestly be careful because there's some people out there who are going to be promising you that, hey, we'll keep you busy, we'll get you all these cases. So I think that's something to look out for. But in general, I feel like the market, especially post COVID, is still pretty active. And you can kind of check online, and there's a lot of postings up there. So I honestly haven't had any issue. Like I said, I started my practice in New York and New Jersey, and now I'm actually working with Dr. Lowney in Massachusetts.
I think that some of you might be concerned about finishing a cosmetic surgery fellowship and facing bias from plastic surgeons in their hiring. I think there's just a lot of education out there. Obviously, bias will always be there, but there's a lot of education out there on the outcomes that we give and the aesthetics that we bring to the table. So I work at a practice owned by a plastic surgeon with other plastic surgeons. I'm the only cosmetic surgeon there, but I can say as a commendation to Dr. Hayabi that my employer has been looking for more AACS fellows just because they've been impressed with the quality of work. So I did notice that some of the wording in the job applications would say plastics, but some of the wording has kind of evolved to say plastics or cosmetics. So I'd say just stay open-minded to that. And then there's such a variety out there. There's different types of practices. There's high-end boutique practices like Dr. Karlinski, and there's really high volume practices. I think she gives a really good spectrum of what you can expect out there. So the best thing you can do is look at what's out there and really ask questions that suit your lifestyle, because this is your career. So you do want to join a practice that suits your lifestyle as well.
Great advice. Thank you. Okay, there were some questions that were sent from registrants prior, right? Okay, I'm going to try to go, looks like about a handful of questions. So I'm going to try to go over those. Question number one, this obviously comes, some of these questions come from people that really are not familiar with our fellowship. It says, I heard that cosmetic surgeons do not have admitting privileges in the hospital for managing patient complications. Is that true? Well, I'll tell you, I have privileges in 3 different hospitals, and we have a very good working relationship with all the specialties, including plastics. And actually, I cover other plastic surgeons in 2 of those hospitals as backup call. Getting privileges is a little bit more of a challenge for cosmetic surgeons, but it is all based on your knowledge, experience, and expertise. If you have the number of cases that you do in our fellowship, and you are practicing this trade, and you can show education, knowledge, and experience, no hospital can deny privileges to you. That has been my experience, and I'll open it up to other fellowship directors and past fellows to talk about this. Any problems with privileges? What do you guys think?
Jacob, I can chime into this. I think my experience has been a little bit different. I did encounter difficulties in getting privileges in the hospital. In New York in particular, I did not have any issues in Florida, and I currently hold privileges in one hospital, and actually was just notified today that my privileges, my cosmetic surgery privileges, have been approved in another hospital in Miami. So I think overall, there's always a potential that when you apply for cosmetic surgery privileges, you may encounter some brick walls. And there may be somewhat of a fight that you would have to put up to get those cosmetic surgery privileges, depending on where your practice is, but certainly not impossible. I think in a lot of big university hospitals, one of the obstacles that the fellows or graduated fellows will find is the plastic surgery departments. In many places, unless you're board eligible or board certified by plastic surgery, you will not be granted cosmetic surgery. But like Martha has pointed out, I think I also see a trend of a change, which has been happening quite rapidly, because just in Florida now, in Aventura Hospital, where I live in my where my practice is set up nearby, we were able to give the hospital the cosmetic surgery privileges, which were delineated by the American Board of Cosmetic Surgery. They were reviewed, approved, and actually the board implemented separate cosmetic surgery privileges in Aventura Hospital, which is a fairly rare thing, but now is not unheard of. And I've heard some of my other colleagues across the country were able to do that as well. So it is a little bit of a process. It can require a little bit of fighting, but certainly not impossible.
Great. Thank you. Another question that was sent just right now in the chat. Let me go over it. For applicants.
I think Dr. had responded to that question, which is great. Just in the chat, if you see.
Okay. Okay, you responded to those. Great, thank you. Okay, I'll move on to the next question here. During cosmetic surgery fellowship training, are cosmetic surgeons trained for any complications regarding surgeries, or are they always transferred to plastic surgery colleagues? I think this question comes from somebody who is either fed some baloney about the fellowships or our specialty, or is completely unfamiliar with what happens during the fellowship. The whole point of doing a fellowship is so that you can not only learn how to do the procedure, but how to treat the complications. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I can add into that, Jacob, if you don't mind. I'll just kind of chime in. I mean, you're right. I think that question was probably from someone who's pretty naive to the AACS. So I think it's important to recognize that all the surgeons who have fellowship programs are board certified by the American Board of Cosmetic Surgery or the American Board of Facial Cosmetic Surgery. There's some pretty high standards across the board for who all these preceptors are. Every program has pretty high standards for the numbers of surgeries that have to be done to be accredited. And in virtually all cases, I think all cases, the AACS fellowship programs far exceed cosmetic surgery numbers in plastic surgery residency programs and fellowships. And so when it comes to experience and breadth of surgical procedures and complications and every nuance of thing that might show up in the practice of cosmetic surgery, I mean, of course, you're listening to a biased bunch, but I think that the facts are actually there, that our programs have far more experience offered to trainees than plastic surgery residency programs. And so in our practice, we find we will never refer something out to a plastic surgeon because that doesn't make any sense. We have more experience. In fact, it's usually often the other way around. We get referrals all the time from plastic surgeons who are in over their heads with a complication in the world of cosmetic surgery. They may be a fantastic plastic surgeon, learn how to do flaps, microvascular surgery, but they just don't have the cosmetic surgery training that our programs have. Do you agree, Jacob?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we published a paper that explained and really showed the numbers, right? The requirement for a plastic surgery resident to graduate is 150 cases, and some programs will actually do almost 300 cases or procedures. And you heard the number of procedures our graduates do. Our averages are 700 to 1,000 procedures, but it's not just about the numbers. I think the numbers are one thing. The other thing is really knowing how to do the whole entire thing from beginning to end successfully. And Tanuj, you said it correctly. I mean, all the surgeons that are fellowship directors are highly skilled, well-trained, and they are dedicated to teaching. This is our passion. I mean, I love what I do, and I think every fellowship director enjoys and loves teaching. So we want our fellows to be successful. I mean, I want my fellow to know everything that I know and beyond, because the field is constantly evolving, constantly expanding. There is new technology, new energy, new procedures, different ways of doing it. So not only that we teach, we are constantly learning ourselves. So, having the next question is, have cosmetics fellowship trained surgeons ever been able to work in a plastic surgery private practice? Well, I'll tell you, the last 7 fellows graduated from my program have been grabbed by plastic surgery practices. They all are being recruited by them because they know that they had excellent training. They know that they're competent. They're going to come out knowing not only how to do the procedures, but how to manage everything that goes after doing the procedure. So these are excellent programs. So that's all I say. You can look up the papers that talk about all of this stuff. I think they're out there, and we'll be happy to forward them to you if you want them. What is the compensation of a cosmetic surgery fellow? So that varies from program to program, right? It is, I would say, a low resident salary because it is a fellowship, and these are not government-funded programs. These are privately funded programs. So every program director really finances the fellowships on their own, all the educational material, all the equipment, everything that goes into teaching is really funded by the fellowship director. And so that can vary. And you can, I would say, the best way to find out is to really call the fellowship director you're interested in and ask them what the compensation will be. Anybody else wants to comment on that? I'm happy to let them speak. Other directors?
I think, Jacob, from last conversations I've had with other fellowship directors, it varies anywhere from no stipend up to, I believe, $50,000 or $60,000 stipend per year. Everybody's different, and I do agree with you. I think it's important for the prospective fellows to remember that this is sponsored by individual fellowship director, and that has to do really with the practice and financial capabilities of the practice. But also remember that being a cosmetic surgery fellow is nothing like being in residency. So there's ample opportunity to moonlight. Most of the weekends are free. And that allows the fellows for this 1 year of really sort of being pretty poor, still make up some of the income while you're in training. So it is only 1 year, so anything can be done in 1 year, but it's typically not a very high stipend that you would count on.
Right. Let's see. Is there a mandated curriculum? That's a question. And is there an ACGME equivalent to ensure equal and adequate training? So we do have a curriculum, and you're learning every day, obviously discussing specific things that are related to cases. We do a monthly journal club with our fellows, and I mean, you're in an environment that's constantly fostering teaching and learning. In regards to ACGME equivalent, that's an interesting question, because if you look at surgical specialty fellowships, right, and there is about 90 such fellowships, 67 of them are not ACGME equivalent, and majority of them are not ABMS. So that argument that ACGME and ABMS are the, yardstick to really measure the quality of training programs is a little bit outdated and a misunderstanding. I mean, I can name multiple specialties: bariatric surgery, pediatric neurosurgery, even aesthetic plastic surgery fellowships. None of those are ABMS or ACGME. They're not really that. So our fellowships are accredited by the AACS. They are not ACGME, but do we follow ACGME equivalent standards? Yes, we have the same measuring sticks. We evaluate the fellows as they go along. They get responsibilities progressively as they mature into more skilled surgeons. So the training is very well organized and very well run in that sense. Okay. Are different programs tailored to specific residencies? For example, should general surgery graduate apply to different programs than ophthalmology or dermatology graduates? So that's another interesting question. First of all, we don't accept dermatology graduates. I think all of our
for general programs.
General, right? We don't. For facial, I guess they can apply. That's correct. For general, you cannot get that. And then I think the strength of the academy is that we are a society that is willing to teach and willing to share information and is happy to do it. So if a general surgeon wants to apply to a program that is more heavily weighted on doing body and breast procedures, I understand that. But if they apply to a program that teaches that plus facial cosmetic procedures, hey, that's more of an advantage. So we don't discriminate. I think that we accept fellows that we like, that we think fit our programs and will basically fit into our family, right? We're all running a nice big family in our practices, and we want somebody that fits into the family. So that's how I look at it. I'll let other people comment on that. Dr. Nakra and Dr. Sessa and Karlinski, and also I think Dr. Banky is on. You guys can make comments. Feel free. Any other comments in regards to that?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Jacob. I think it's extremely important that whoever joins your practice understands that they will be working with you shoulder to shoulder for a year. So it really has to be a combination of a good character, humility, willingness to learn and listen and take criticism in the correct way, but certainly have a set of surgical skills. And whether you're an OBGYN or OMFS or ENT or general surgery, most of us will automatically assume that you have the necessary set of skills. Of course, everyone is different. I personally have been having a fellowship for almost 10 years. And the way I can tell that somebody will have the necessary skills is simply by having them scrub in with me into the operating room when they're interviewing. I think that makes it very easy to understand if this person is going to do well or if this is going to be a very difficult year. And I think most of you already know what your skills are and what your capabilities are. As long as you feel comfortable within a program and we feel comfortable with you, it's a very easy decision. At least for me, I can already, it's a feel more than anything else when you come for an interview.
Okay, I think the rest of the questions really are along the same line. I just want to say, these fellowship trainings are here for people that are serious about the specialty of cosmetic surgery. It is an excellent training ground. There's a lot of misinformation out there about your ability or management of complications. And I think these questions are all along that line. So I'd like to say that I respect our plastic surgery colleagues. And I think the ones that are not in a turf for war mode respect us greatly. I go to the hospital at least a couple of times a month here where I practice, have excellent working relationships with everybody. We don't have any turf war issues necessarily, although it seems like that's what seems to be the topic of the questions that were sent to us before. In fact, my One of my best friends, who's a plastic surgeon and practices not too far from me in a hospital, does excellent breast reconstruction, and I refer all the breast reconstructions to him, and he refers all the cosmetic cases to me, and we talk about our experiences, complications, we share stuff, we talk about things, and we learn from each other. So I think in the real world, those things become trivial. Your patients, when they come in and they interview you for a procedure, right? They come in to make sure that you are a knowledgeable person, you are a caring person, and you're going to take do a good job for them and take care of them. And that's what they think about. They really, I know that, all these questions about plastic versus cosmetic versus, I think those are irrelevant. If this is your passion and this is what you want to practice, the best way you can get there is by doing one of these fellowships. So I'll conclude with that unless there are any other urgent questions, because I think we're running 15 minutes late already.
Yeah, just to encourage everyone to reach out to us. We're all, if you haven't been able to tell, the AACS organization is pretty friendly. We're focused on teaching, we're inclusive, and we invite you to reach out to us. You can probably find us on our social media handles, or you can ask Margaret for contact information. And, we have visitors that come spend some time with us in our practice, and I know other practices have that opportunity as well, just to get exposure to the specialty of cosmetic surgery. I think all of us, I'm going to go ahead and be out on a limb here and say that everybody who is an attending physician in cosmetic surgery here probably pinches himself each day that we have, just found this beautiful area of medicine where we make people happy, we improve the quality of life of our patients. The surgeries are incredibly fun and rewarding to perform, and we have a really enviable lifestyle. There's just so much that goes into the specialty, and I'm thankful to be a cosmetic surgeon, and we invite you to join us.
Very well said.
Thank you to the panelists. Thank you for the attendees, and look for an email from me tomorrow with details on the July 2024 cohort match. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jacob, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.